Hi, it's Jared from Strongroots Farm. Today we are talking about building a homestead, and this is part 2. So if you haven't seen part 1, it's going to be down in the description, but I'll let you know it's not a prerequisite for this video, so you can watch it after it and it will not stop the content or the knowledge that we're going to put out in today's video. Part 1 was all about what you should be doing before you buy land, how you should prep to start your homestead, what you can do today, where you're at today. Now we're going to get into buying land. When you start a homestead, when you're looking to buy a farm or buy a homestead, things you should be looking at, and there's a lot of decisions to be made from this point on until you really get rolling. Today's video, in order to keep it short and to give you good solid content about one specific subject, we're going to focus on one main thing, one main decision you have to make, and that is, do you buy established farms or homesteads? So the buildings are already there, the house is there. Do you look to buy something that is already going so that you can get started faster and so that it's already set up and ready for your family? Or do you buy blank land and build things for yourself? What is going to be better for you and your family as you start this homestead? So that's all coming up today, and we're going to stick to that one specific decision because that is really the next decision that you are going to face. How do we buy? What do we buy? What are we looking to buy? And what is our price range? That's all coming up today. We're going to go through it all. Stick around. Well, welcome back. Thanks for joining us as we go through this series on how to build a homestead. Today's video, I'm going to talk about these 2 points, whether you buy a full built farm or whether you buy blank land. And I'm kind of confused by some of these videos that I'm watching. So I want you to know today I'm going to talk about these and give you pros and cons. This is not a cookie cutter decision. Whatever state you're picking, wherever you're at, I can't give you advice without one-on-one consulting in good faith. You watch another video and they say, this is the best place to live, this is the best, state, whatever it would be. If they say this is the perfect homestead, this is the perfect farm, I will tell you that nothing is perfect. There are pros and cons to everything, and you really have to make a decision for your family. So what may be perfect for somebody else might not necessarily work for you. So when we talk about these things, understand everybody's going to have a different decision. And if I lean one way, it's okay for you to lean another based on what your family needs are. So if you've watched our channel very long, there's 30 acres here. It's all fenced. It all has electricity to everything. There's automatic waters, underground wires. We've got 2 big barns. We talked about this a little bit in my other video. And we bought this farm as an established farm. Now, we've done a boatload of work, okay? So all the gravel that you've seen, which is under snow right now, was never here. It was all mud. And so I'm gonna post a few pictures. I'm gonna do a little slideshow here real quick of what we endured when we bought this farm, okay? Just what it looked like day one, the mud, the nastiness, and all of the excavating. And that is really gonna be my first point. When you buy a farm, it's already put together, it's already built. The pro would be, hey, it's done, it's ready for us. We can get started now, we can have animals next week, or so you think. And when you buy a farm that's already done or already put together, there's a major con of you don't know what you don't know. You don't know where the electrics ran underground. You don't know where the water lines are underground. You don't know what the other guy that sold it lied about, what he hid, and I'm not saying that happened here to me, but that has something I have seen as I have consulted with other people that bought places. You don't know damage on barns. So there was a ton of damage on our barn here when we got here. We could see about 2% of it. This 60 by 60 barn, we've added on lean-tos to both sides. It's now a 60 by 100. This barn only had 4 posts holding up the entire barn that were fully intact. There were posts that were rotted away and maybe 2-inch diameter circles still holding it, or some posts that were just significantly smashed into concrete, but underneath nothing was there. It was all gone due to termite damage. We found that during a pest inspection that it had some termite damage, but we did not think there was this much that we couldn't see. And so we had to take all the metal off, replace the posts, splice them all in, pour new concrete, had to jack some concrete on this building. Tons and tons, hundreds of tons of gravel came to this farm. So when you buy a farm, the big negative is you don't know what you're dealing with. And I will tell you from experience, and this is not the first time I've done this, it stinks to deal with somebody else's problems. And so that is a huge con for me when you're buying something else that somebody gave up on, they neglected, they hid stuff, they didn't do it right when they did it, and now you're gonna have to deal with those problems. The other con about buying a place that's already put together is that, is it really put together how you would do it? Is it necessarily your choice? And so I would not have put this barn here. This is a really bad location. We had to do tons of excavating due to the fact that the watershed came towards this barn. And so 9 semi-loads of dirt later, we finally got the water to run away and put gravel down and fix those things. But that was a poor location, but I had to deal with it because it was already here. And so you're dealing with somebody else's, how they design stuff, how they locate it, and does it fit you? Another con to this kind of scenario is that it's typically more expensive. You have to have more savings. You have to have a bigger budget to buy a farm. There's value in barns, there's value in fence, value in pre-established pastures and water and all those things. So if you want to buy something that's set up to where you can go in and within a year have animals, it's going to cost you. Now, we'll talk about the blank land in a minute, and some people say, well, that will cost you more. And you're probably right, because everything's going to be new. But up front, the mortgage, the value of this, you're going to need more money. You're going to need more money to buy something that has everything day one. What I have found, when you buy something that needs work, so I hear people say all the time, we're going to buy a fixer-upper, right? They're going to go in, the barn's dilapidated, the house needs a lot of work, but they can afford it. They spend so much time working on fixing other people's problems that it takes them just the same amount of time to get to animals, to get to actual homesteading, versus buying blank land and building what they need and only what they need, or altering something very smally. That's the same speed as fixing a ginormous old bank barn and fixing a house and doing all that stuff. The speed has been about the same from my experience. All right, so let's talk about blank land. So blank land is going to be cheaper in a sense of the first purchase, correct? So you're going to buy a farm that's built up and it may cost you $350. You can buy the blank land for $70,000, but you have to build everything that's here. So out of pocket day one, you have blank land. The negative is you got no place to live. So what do? Do you live in a camper? Do you buy a tiny house? Do you build stuff slow? And so that is all going to be dependent on you and your life situation. If you're a single couple and you have no kids and you're 20 years old, you can live in a camper or a tiny house and you can get by. But you got 7 kids, that's not going to work so well for you. So there's pros and cons about that. And I'm going to talk about ways to get around this in a minute. But understand, blank land is an open canvas. You can make it what you want. And so I want to talk about what type of blank land in another video, like what you should look for, grass, way watersheds, where you have access to stuff. That's all important. And I'm going to put that in another video. But when you're looking at blank land, it's just the dream. It's blank, it's empty. It's the blank canvas. You can do what you want. So it's a beautiful thing for me. That's what I would rather have. And it's kind of the best idea for you to start that way. But the downfall is you have to know what you're doing. In my mind, this is one of the major cons with blank land. You're moving from the city, from the suburbs, where it would be, and you say, we bought this piece of land, it's blank, and we're gonna build our dream. Good for you. How many homes have you designed today? You're gonna buy blank land today. In the past life, this life of yours, how many homes have you designed? How many barns have you designed as an architect? So you don't have to be a certified architect to buy a at-home home designer thing, but how many have you designed? How many homes have you lived in as a couple or a family? So if you've lived in 5 different homes, you've kind of got a good idea what you like and don't like in a home. If you're moving from your first suburb home and you're going to build your dream home, I will tell you, you're going to make mistakes. And this really stinks, and it's a downfall of blank land. If you're going to build your dream home and your forever home, and you really don't have experience of what you want as a family. So if you're a family that's moved a lot and you've learned, whether it be for a job or whatever, that's actually a skill. It's actually, we know we need a bigger bathroom. We know we don't need that much closet space. We know we want more room in our dining room because we were tight walking around our table before. These are all things that people don't really think about. And architects are a service-based business, okay? They're there to give you what you want, even if they disagree with your design. So some of them will speak up, but I guarantee you 90% of them will not tell you to your face that you're an idiot if they see something that is completely bad design, but they're giving you what you want. Now understand, architects are going to give you a safe product. They're going to give you structurally sound things. That's their job. But if you design a room and you draw something out and say, this is what we want, and then the house gets built and you're like, man, I really wish this room was just 2 feet wider so our table fit in here better. Architects are there for customer service, and they will suggest things, but they're not going to beat you up. And I have a friend who's an architect, and he says, I only suggest things one time. I tell them, look, if I were you, I would change this, and you might want a little more room here. If they don't say yes, I draw what they want, because that's my job, and I make it safe, but that's it. So architects are not going to save you from poor design stuff. If you don't have experience in designing homes, you're going to have to go a different route, and you're going to have to pay attention, because that is a downfall and negative of buying bare land. The other downfall and negative to bare land is you don't know about farming yet. You're starting a small farm. You're starting a homestead. You may have learned and watched enough videos to say, okay, we want south facing this and water lines in the center and electric fence and power. And I'm hoping I'm helping you with some of that stuff, but you really don't know. We bought this blank land. We don't know that that's a mud hole in that area 8 months of the year, because you haven't lived on the land long enough to see those things. That's why I talk a lot about temporary things, being able to change things. So it's kind of a pro on bare land. You can start out temporary, learn, and then fix. Whereas if the guy before you messed it up, now you have to tear it back out and change it. But on bare land, there's more experience to be learned and more mistakes that you can make, because it's bare and your dreams sometimes overpower experience and logic. So pros and cons to everything. And if you watch this and you're like, well, he said don't buy a farm that's there because of all the problems that you're going to have and dealing with somebody else's junk, and bare land, we're going to mess this up because we don't really know everything that we're doing. There's a lot of things there. Well, there's some middle of the ground. There's middle road decisions here that could help you, that could be a better decision. So I want to talk about some of those, because I gave you the 2 ends of the spectrum. First middle of the road thing would be buying a house with land, no farm. It's not a farm, it's just land. Whether it's been farmed in monoculture, whether it's in grass and somebody else bales it, which would be better off, but it's just a house, right? It's just the house, maybe a detached little garage to put a car in, but it's not a farm. So if you like the house and you have a good home inspector, and it is everything that you want. If you buy a house and you think we're going to need to add on and fix stuff, you're still going to get into problems. But if you can find a house with 5, 10, 20 acres, whatever your small farmer homestead is going to be acreage wise, and you like the house, we could move in. Yes, we need to paint. Maybe, you know, we don't like that light fixture, but for the most part, it's a suitable house for you and your family. Then from there, you slowly build your homestead. You slowly put in fence and get a little barn, and you get your animals slowly. That is a good middle of the road decision. So it's there. That's a good middle. You know, you've got a little bit of used, but a lot of new, and you can make it what you want. Another good middle of the road decision, if you want to build, if you want a brand new home, would be to hire a contractor that has built many homes and has home plans that you can walk through. So this guy, whoever it is, your friend, hopefully somebody that you know that you trust, but if you find a contractor that you can trust and you can say, this exact house, he's built this house before, here's the plans for it, we walk through this home, one of his previous customers lets us go in, and really the only thing we want to change is we want him to add a bigger pantry in the basement, which is easy, or they put in a fiberglass shower, we would like to have a tiled shower. Those are easy changes for a contractor. Different style doors, something like that, small stuff, not room changes. So if you find a contractor, you walk through the house, you love it, and that's the home you want him to build, that's there. But understand, a contractor makes a wage and he has to pay his guys. And these guys tend to make a pretty good living. So you're building a new house, it's gonna cost you more than a used house, that's always pretty understandable, and you're paying somebody for the design and the build and all those things. And as a homesteader or a small farmer, the more that you can do yourself, the better off you're gonna be and the better off your pocketbook is gonna be. Now, if you have 7 kids, you're in a crunch because you need a house for all those 7 kids. If you're single and you're in your 20s, and I guess your age doesn't matter. If you're single and you have less people relying on you, you can stand to, deal with more issues and a harder, living in construction for a while. But it's all in what your family can do, make that decision. There's one more option that I think that is in this middle of the road. So you've decided that you want to move, and I would say this is probably a better option for somebody that is going to move more than 100 miles away from their current location. And there's really 2 types of people with this move. You're moving from the city to the country and it's within 100 miles. You still kind of can stay connected with the people that you already have community with a little bit, and you kind of know the area, the government, whatever those kind of things, the city that the 100-mile away from would be. And then there's those people that want to move from California to Tennessee. So if you're moving to an area and you can rent, you sell your house, you pull out the equity, you put it into an investment, something where you're gaining some kind of interest on it, whether it's a high yield savings account, whatever, not giving you 100% financial, dictatorship advice here because I don't know your situation, so don't take me at all that. But if you can save that money, put it away and rent, find a house to rent. There's 2 sides to this. If you can find a house that has a couple acres, and what we did in part 1, you can now extend on. Maybe they let you have a pig, they let you have a chicken tractor, they let you have a bigger garden on your rental property, and you can learn and grow more into this homesteading. And this is just a stepping stone to the farmer homestead. Okay, so it may seem like it's a delay, but really you're gonna add more skills, add more experience, and you have less risk with a rental. So that's a kind of an option. The other thing with renting, you could rent a house and buy blank land, or buy something that had, just a barn on it, or a fixer-up house, so that you're not living in the construction. So you buy this cheaper place, you rent, and you can go there, and hopefully it's within 5 to 10 miles. You can go there and fix it up as you go along. I had a guy email me and say his farm is about 80 miles away from his current house. I'll tell you, that is a rough situation. The travel back and forth, do you stay overnight in your vehicle or a camper? How do you get there and work and fix stuff? It'd be nice if you could run over there, work 3 or 4 hours, and then come home for dinner. So there are those options with renting. So now, because I said I would give you a slideshow, I want to show you some of this work that we've had to do here in a quick slideshow. I'll put a little bit of music behind it or something. This is not the norm. The disaster that we walked into with this farm is not the norm, but there was so much hidden stuff here. I want to show you this so you can see the problems that we dealt with. You can see it looked kind of fine day 1, but then as we got in and the mud and the rot and the disaster that this place was when we started, it's hidden stuff. it costs you a lot of money and it'll make you pull your hair out. We have spent over $100,000 since we've been here, and we haven't even started on the house yet. So that number may scare you. Maybe that number is fine for you, but to us, it was a lot of money. To anybody, it's $100,000 is a lot of money, but it was more than we wanted to spend repairing stuff. But everything was so much worse than we expected, and we couldn't have seen it with an inspection. And I don't even think the guy that owned this farm really knew that it was this bad. So I'm gonna roll this. It's not the norm. And I'm just doing this so that you can see, hey, we need to pay attention to stuff and let you see this risk, okay? I'm just showing my pain so that you can understand how bad this risk is of buying somebody else's fixer-upper. Well, there you go. There's some slides of what we've gone through. Don't let that scare you away. This place is not the norm, okay? I have dealt with this. You will have this somewhat in every used place you buy. You're gonna find issues. To this magnitude, probably not. It's not the norm. But I will let you know, everything that you buy at one point or another, you're gonna be like, why did they do it this way? This is so stupid. For instance, here, we dig up something down in the ground and it's busted and it's duct taped together. And you're like, they had the hole open. They got in here to fix it and they rigged it together instead of cutting it out and doing it right and putting it back so it would never be there again. And then they covered it up with dirt and left it for somebody else to deal with just to get by. That is the kind of stuff that drives me insane. So you're gonna have some if you buy a used place, but not to this magnitude. So please don't let that little slideshow I showed you there scare you away. All right, so that's part 2. I hope this helps you understand you did your pre-work in step 1, and now you're making this decision of what types of properties are we gonna look at. I'm gonna tell you if you're looking to move to a specific area, Zillow, MLS. MLS is the real estate market. So I have a certain website that I use here in Ohio, and it's different. Whatever website is the best that shows all of the MLS. Here in Cincinnati, Sipsey Klein has a pretty good website where they show everybody's listings, not just their listings. So you're really gonna have to, with these Zillows and things, though, they make you separate them of, we want a place that has a house, you know, this many bedrooms and baths, or we just want lots, blank land, this much acreage. So that's the decision you're gonna have to make. Look at both, look at your options. So I hope this helps you, but that's the next step in narrowing down to get to let's build a homestead. Hope that video helped you. Please like and subscribe. This is the first one for watching. We do have a lot of farming videos here. Obviously not a lot to show with all this snow. Work is a little harder right now. And go back and watch step 1 if you have not seen that part 1. And I will continue to put these out and get further and further along in this, basically until spring, when I can show you as we start to build stuff, this is how I would build it. So my goal is over the next month, we're getting more and more and more. What do you do next? What do you do next? And then what do you do next? That's kind of going to be the series. And then we'll have other videos sprinkled in. Appreciate everybody watching. Until next time.